Hey, this is Jersey Hobby Hour. I'm Steve Chin, your host. This is a show where me and my friends, we discuss current events in gaming, news, entertainment, or anything else that catches our fancy. With me is Alan Wan. How's it going, Alan?
Terrible. I feel sick, and I'm not getting what I'm going to be getting for Christmas.
Well, there's other things that you could get for Christmas. In any case, so we have a lot of news and entertainment today. Coming from last week, there really isn't a whole lot that's been happening in gaming over the past week. I might talk a little bit about Fallout 4, a little bit of reactions, considering I took a few days off to enjoy the game, and I'm about 20 hours in or so. And we're also going to discuss Alan's PC build, which might have hit the rocks. But we'll still talk about how we're going to build, what we would build if we decide to do it anyway, because I might anyway. And let's just jump right into it, I guess. Entertainment news. Let's start with the big one that just hit today, I believe. Well, really last night.
Last night.
We have Captain America Civil War trailer that was announced on Jimmy Kimmel's show last night. Alan, when did you see this? Did you happen to catch it live last night, late last night?
No. As I was saying, I was sick the last couple of days, so I was incapacitated by NyQuil. So I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, what is this? And I saw that they had the Captain America trailer. So I didn't see it live, but I saw it on my phone initially. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it. It obviously progresses, the universe, and it makes sense because, stuff after the events after Age of Ultron, there has to be, a sort of like accountability for what has happened. You can't be dropping cities from the sky, and those kind of things. So if you haven't seen the trailer, you should take a look at it. But basically, it gives you the overarching storyline that's going to follow, and it really paints how like Captain America's side, where he's trying to defend his best friend. And you see like new glimpses of like Black Panther for the first time, and it's really awesome because the tone. The only thing is for me is that I think this is what Marvel wanted it to be, where it's called Civil War, where there's not really a good guy or a bad guy. It's more of like, these two conflicting ideology. The ironic part is that there's two villains that are supposed to be in here, Crossbones and Baron Zemo, and they were nowhere to be found in the trailer. They were kind of focusing on the conflict between the two heroes. And I was about to say, this is what Marvel wants, is that we're these two, because fans love these two characters like Captain America and Iron Man. And for me, I feel like Captain America is pretty selfish. So, this is what Marvel wants to do, is like create this conversation. But for me, I think Captain America is selfish, where he's spitting on the face of everyone that he knows basically for one person. However, I'm a guy, I have a penis. Girls, my girlfriend included, love Captain America. They'll follow Captain America to the depths of hell. So they'll be on his side no matter what. So, Steve, what do you think?
It definitely showcases the Civil War aspect of the name or the title of the movie. And I'm really excited to see this because, just like you said, that they are focusing in on the internal conflict of all the superheroes that we've come to know and love between all the movies that they've been in. And really, the backstory for the supervillains that we've always craved in other superhero movies, all the Iron Man movies, all the Captain America movies, those villains were throwaway characters. They were one and done, and they never came back. Except for Loki. But he's also kind of a good guy, sort of. Anyways, really what they're focusing in on here is the internal conflict. And now that you have such a rich background and story for your villains, you really have a lot more invested in seeing what happens to everyone. One thing that really kind of interests me, though, is there are a lot of shots of Robert Downey Jr.'s character where he's basically got a black eye. And I don't know why, maybe there's something special here that needs to be said, but even in this shot, you could see that he's got the whole black eye thing going on right there. And you see it in a lot of the shots during this trailer. And I'm not sure if that was done intentionally, if it was meant to look like Iron Man's been, beaten up pretty badly and that things have been going wrong. But I think it was a pretty important message that we were seeing here. In addition, there's another scene a little bit later on in this trailer where, and I won't show it here, where Iron Man's holding on to Iron Patriot as he's down on the ground, and it seems like he's been beaten
or dead,
or
dead.
Dead,
or dead. So yeah, I mean, they really focused a lot on Captain America, so you kind of see his team. So you see that, who's on his team. We talked about this before, and it was true. Scarlet Witch is on his team, so is Hawkeye, and obviously Falcon and Bucky. Of course, they're going to be on his side. You don't really see much of Tony's side. Obviously, you all know that Tony's going to have War Machine basically, because Rhodey and him are best friends. They don't really show what we covered before, where we don't see any glimpse of Vision. We don't see any glimpse of Ant-Man either, which I think from reports saying that Ant-Man actually joins Captain America's side. If you saw the end of Ant-Man, and you don't see Spider-Man, which I think that the reason why they're not going to show Spider-Man in this movie, in the trailers as well, is same thing what Disney's doing along with Luke, where they're not going to give you the guy that you really want to see until you watch the movie. Because they want you to get that money shot in the movies. I mean, maybe they'll tease it, but I think you're not going to see Spider-Man, because from what I heard, he has a very significant part, but he's probably in there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if I needed to see everyone sort of in the teaser trailer, and I'm just kind of hopeful that with how big the ensemble cast is now for this movie, that everyone kind of gets at least some viable screen time that seems to make sense, and it's not just a cameo just to make a cameo. And yeah, I mean, I definitely see your point with Luke in terms of, hey, we got to keep him out of the trailers. This way it maintains the cinematic effect for when you actually are in the movie and you see him. Because there are definitely those moments where it's like, you have two characters talking and you're not expecting someone to show up, and then they do. And it's, someone that you really wanted to show up at the right time.
Yep.
I think it's awesome trailer. I look forward to May 6th. And I don't know. I'm a little upset that this may be the last of the Captain America movies.
We'll see. Don't get me wrong. He's gonna be in what's that thing called? Avengers. What's that thing called? The Gauntlet. Infinity Wars. He's gonna be in those, so don't worry. He'll be in there. What was I gonna focus on? I'm sorry. I think it's gonna be obvious how this movie's gonna go. They're gonna fight against each other. There's gonna be a threat that unites them, and it's gonna be similar to what they're gonna do in Batman versus Superman, where Batman and Superman are not gonna be mortal enemies forever. They're gonna end up, kissing, making, and playing nice with each other, and they're gonna fight something, to kind of because there's a bigger threat, obviously. So I think that's going to be along the same lines as Civil War. I think the Civil War thing is going to be resolved in one movie. To be honest with you, I think it's just going to be, it's going to be very self-contained. I don't think it's going to carry over to much further than this movie.
So, in terms of the ever-expanding universe, too, we do have something else in terms of news regarding the Marvel Universe. I mean, we have Jessica Jones, which came out, was it last week, Alan?
Friday night at 12 a.m.
And you watched it and binged it over the weekend? That's what you told me?
Yeah, I watched it in a day on Saturday. It's 13 episodes. No big deal. It's not like I'm going anywhere. I'm engaged. There's nothing. There's not much out there for me anymore. So,
all right, so tell me about this, because I'm very interested, because anything Marvel right now is hot. It's a hot item.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get to it myself. and it's definitely sort of on my watch list after I finish up Revenge.
Yeah.
I mean, is it something that I should, drop everything and start watching because it's just that good? Is it sort of on the level with Daredevil and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I think it's well. First of all, I think it's better than Agents of Shield. Personally, it is. So I'll give you this. It's different. Where this movie, this show is a lot more heavier than actually with
Yeah, I mean,
Daredevil.
I've read some quick stuff, and they were saying that the show is a lot darker, and
Oh yeah.
there's a certain amount of vulgar verbiage
Oh
that
yeah.
gets used.
Oh yeah, there is. So like I think we talked about some of the marketing. To be honest with you, going in to watch Jessica Jones, I wasn't excited at all because I thought it was stupid. The marketing stuff they had on there was stupid and dumb as hell. But like I thought Daredevil was gonna be stupid and dumb as hell, and I love Daredevil. So the trailers never got me. So I mean, obviously it was riding off the coattails of Daredevil, and actually I think this has been the longest kind of the long before that it was like the longest like kind of dry period with comic book movies because it was more focused on Star Wars because the last comic book movie that came out was Fantastic Four and it was a shit show. So it's been a while since you've had like a good with comic books. So I was excited to go back and watch the show and I was very surprised. It was dark. It had a tone that that rival that was basically similar to how Daredevil set up. It went through a lot of themes that I was very surprised that the Marvel universe would go into. Very surprised with what you call it. There's I don't want to spoil too much of the series because a lot of these themes are related to that. But I won't go into much in depth, but like basically a lot of themes that you'd be like, wow, that's kind of deep. I don't think Marvel is usually very family friendly. Why would they go into that? So, very surprised. So I'll let you go into that to do that. But in terms of villains, they have the best. I think they have the best villain. This is the best villain that Marvel Cinematic Universe has in terms of you get this overall. He's well developed. His wants, his needs, and like what he's afraid of, and you kind of feel this sort of attachment, or you feel sad for him. I think it's also because it's unlike the movies where it's primarily focused on the heroes and the villains are kind of the afterthought. Even though it's kind of a working formula because Marvel has always done that and, and they've always been successful. So, I thought the villain was a big plus. I thought he was actually better than than Kingpin, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin in Daredevil on Netflix was fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
they definitely fleshed his character out, but I did kind of think that they kind of like swept him under the rug rather a little bit too quickly, maybe.
Yeah, I mean they gave you a whole season with him, but he was well developed. I mean, and then the reason why I think the TV shows, their villains are working so much better because you get to see more of a side of them as opposed to like, I want to destroy, the world, and that's kind of a shame because like a lot of characters they could have progressed with like with Red Skull. Red Skull's a big character, and they just kind of dust them away. So it's kind of a shame. So the cast overall, it's really good. I mean, surprising because like the girl that's playing Jessica Jones, I saw in a bunch of like as like a B-list character basically, and she really carried the show. Like her personality and charisma really brought the character to life. And then you also have these other cast members like Trinity is in there from Trinity from Matrix, the chick from the first Transformers movie, the blondie, and then you have like Steve, you won't know, but the Power Rangers Red Ranger.
The blondie from the first Transformers movie?
Yeah. Did you remember? Like, she was the one that was talking with the black guy. Like she's like the reporter. Like she was the reporter. She was like had the Australian accent.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she's in the movie, she's in this TV show. I'm sorry, TV show. And they also introduced another character, Luke Cage, which is going to be in the Defender series. And and it's great that you understand like they all these characters are well established where you understand why they do certain things, like they get their characteristics. So when they do certain things in the show, you're like, oh, that's why, because that's how they are, which is great. It's grounded and gritty. It takes takes place in Hell's Kitchen. Apparently, it's only like a couple of blocks in real life, but apparently, it's a big ass part of New York. So, I mean, I do prefer personally. I usually prefer the usual like tongue in cheek that Marvel has, but they really did a good job with this. If you want, I can give you over the negatives where the story. Some of the negatives is that some of the themes made it believe it was like kind of a Lifetime movie because it was like it's think of it like a female based kind of thing, dealing with rape and stuff like that. That's the only spoiler. So like it kind of like sometimes it felt like one kind of like a Lifetime movie ish. We're like, oh, the guys are always the jerk, and also one of the characters you'll know instantly, Steve, or whoever watches Jessica Jones. One of the neighbors, she is annoying as shit, and she does a really good job being annoying as shit, and that really took me out of the show because I'm like, whenever she was on the show, I was like, God damn, can you shut the fuck up? Sorry for the cursing.
Well, I mean, is she meant to be like a comedic relief, or is it just like, is she an integral character?
No, that's one of the problems. Was like she had like, I don't know. They kind of focus. There's a reason why she's like that. I don't want to go into it, but she's just annoying. She's just really annoying. Where like she's really condescending towards the main character, understandably so. But it's just like the way she acts, the way whenever she opens her mouth, you just want to punch her in the face. I don't like punching girls, but holy shit, can you shut the fuck up? And that's the other thing. There's sometimes a little too much exposition. Just stop. Sometimes a little too much exposition. That's it. But other than that,
seeming like the show, there's just a little bit too much exposition.
A little bit too much. I mean, don't get me wrong. The storyline was complex and it was compelling, and it drew me in. And nothing felt like they had purposely like shoehorned stuff in. Like, hey, just like Agents of Shield, they make all these like Avengers references. Like, oh, he must be from Asgard. Like, oh, Iron Man could have done that. Like that's what Agents of Shield does a lot, and that's the only thing that bothers me about Agents of Shield. They did that a lot in season 1, and it really bothers me too when they do that stuff. But like this, they didn't do that. They just, they mentioned the invasion. It was just like the incident. And that was like once throughout the whole show. They mentioned it once. They mentioned anything about the universe. And it felt very self-contained and enclosed. And yeah, sorry, Steve, about this complaint, about this huge rant about it.
No big deal. I mean, I definitely see that you have a lot of emphasis on the fact that this is something that I should check out. So I mean, it's definitely something I'm going to check out. But yeah, maybe I'll hold off on making any comments about how I feel.
It is a little heavy.
1 or 2 episodes.
To be honest, it is a little heavy. So maybe I would take a little bit from going from show to episode to episode. Like I grinded through it, but then some of the stuff are kind of heavy, so maybe move back a little bit. So like that's all I gotta say.
I mean, is this like something that I need to like just watch and not like watch and web surf or play a video game or something?
You should just watch. I think you should just watch.
Okay, so moving along away from Jessica Jones, you do have a note here about Digimon Adventures, a possible reunion. Tell me a little bit about that. Now, before you start though, I have never really watched a lot of Digimon. It came a little bit later in middle school when I wasn't really into cartoons and that type of stuff as much, and I just didn't like as much anime as most other kids did. So I don't have a lot of experience with Digimon in the first place. However, I do remember the sort of opening song that they had, mainly because once I heard it, I would change the channel.
No, that's fine.
So go ahead. Tell me a little bit about this.
Hold on. I just did one huge rant. Let me take... Okay, so... Obviously, Digimon is not a household name like Pokemon. So first of all, I'm a huge Digimon fan. If anyone knows me, I'm a huge Digimon fan. A lot of people, if you went to my computer and saw the hint for my password, it says Digimon, and you know who some of the people try to hack into my computer. You know who you are, you assholes, Ryan, that are trying to go into my... But anyway, sorry. So I grew up as a huge Digimon fan, and I always loved Digimon because it had some richer themes, and it had a like progressive storyline as opposed to Pokemon, where Pokemon is basically, let's catch all these guys, let's catch all these Pokemons, oh, let's get all the badges. It seemed very, and it's like
It
rinse.
was basically a
it's
show
like
about animal abuse, but
yeah,
continue.
wash, rinse, and repeat. It was very simplified. So like and the great thing about Pokemon is that it's still here for over 15 years. I mean, its relevancy is debatable, but it's still here. It's still around for kids. They're still pumping out with new games. There's still new episodes. But with Digimon, like they have a progressive storyline. Unfortunately, they have a storyline that has to end. So that's why they had to end the series, and then they ended up having new seasons where basically end up being like Power Rangers, where there's a whole new season of heroes, guys. And so basically what they're kind of do is that they're going back to the well. Toei is the company that actually made Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball. So what they're trying to do right now is that they're going back to the well of what worked, and they're trying to make a sequel to the first original series, because obviously, if it works, why don't we try to, re-energize the franchise and try to make some money off of it? So, I think it's, I mean, let's be honest, they're just really trying to make money. I mean, the thing is that, there's not a huge fan base for Digimon, so I don't understand why they're even doing this. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea they're doing this, but I don't understand why they're doing it, because Digimon wasn't such a huge success over here. It never hit the pop culture over here, so I don't understand why they even bother.
Like you look around and sort of what's available to kids right now, and Digimon isn't really, a big popular part of it.
Oh, well,
I mean, most people think like in terms of like Japanese animation type cartoons or toys. They're going to think of Pokemon, and they're also going to think of Dragon Ball Z. Maybe, and this is out there. Maybe Gundam, like Mobile Suit Gundam or something like that. But
I don't even know if the kids nowadays know even what Gundam is, to be honest with you. But yeah, so back to what this is. So Digimon Adventures Try. This is a reunion. This is actually part of like a 4 movie series that they're having. The first one was called Reunion, where basically they bring back all the old characters. Let's make it short. Positives. Great fan service to the core fans. If you loved the original one, you'll love this. The animation's updated. It looks more anime. It feels more grown up as opposed to what they did originally. It looks less kiddie-ish. It has the same feeling of the original Digimon series. Some of the humor, some of the chemistry. Negatives. Some of the characters do things that are kind of end characteristics. Feels like they're kind of shoehorning certain, forcing kind of certain plot points in there where they don't belong. And also in this episode, nothing really happens. They just basically sit around and talk a lot. It's just like kind of like the Phantom Menace, where basically all they do is sit around in a circle and you just talk about things. So a lot of exposition. So, I mean, I'm a fan, so I'm gonna keep watching. But I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if the normal person like you, I wouldn't advise you guys to watch it unless you were the part of like the original group that actually liked Digimon.
And I won't.
Yep, that's fine.
And with that now, I need to ask you a question. Have you ever seen Tremors? Any of the Tremors movies?
No, have never.
Have you ever come across them? Anyone ever mentioned them? I mean, it's like a primetime B-rate like sci-fi movie.
No,
no,
I've never.
Okay, so Tremors is basically a kind of Western story in modern time. And someone's gonna yell at me about saying that it's like Western, but basically this backwater town called Paradise or something like that. They come under attack by these Tremors that they call them, and they work a lot like the sandworms of Dune. And basically, if you're out in the desert and you're walking around and you make vibrations because you're walking, they'll just basically come up and eat you. And they're like giant. They're giant worms, basically. And you're safe on like large rocks and stuff like that. And later on, they actually ended up having more than one movie where they actually had different forms of these Tremors, and they started evolving very quickly. Very, very, very like obscure kind of B-rate movie, and they're bringing it back with Kevin Bacon, who was in the first movie, in the original movie. I don't know if they're going to keep all of the movies canon. that were afterwards. But certainly, Kevin Bacon's character, he talks about it that he would love to revisit the character after 25 years. And they're going to make it a TV series as a reboot. I think this is interesting because Tremors was kind of an interesting movie to me growing up, just watching terrible sci-fi movies on what was the Sci-Fi Channel. And catching Tremors was probably the closest thing that I could get to Dune, which I was a huge fan of growing up as a kid. And sort of modernized for, I mean, they didn't really include all the political aspects of Dune, but certainly Kevin Bacon is an interesting choice to bring back, mainly because he doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot that's really super interesting. He was in X-Men First Class.
Yeah, First Class as Sebastian Shaw, I'm sorry, as part of the what are those guys, Hellfire Club.
Right, but I'm really not certain what else he's been up to. I think he's like in a TV series or something right now.
Yeah, they keep like now. Back then, there was a huge stigma where like actors that did movies didn't want to go to TV shows but now it's kind of like a revolving door. Like Matthew McConaughey, he won an Oscar and he did True Detective season 1, which is great. So back to Tremors TV series. So the producer is Jason Blum. I don't know if you know who he is, but basically he's the CEO of Blumhouse Productions. Basically, he's making a killing, pun intended, on these like low budget horror flicks like Paranormal Activity, Insidious, Sinister, The Purge, and Gem of the Holograms. Actually, the last one wasn't a horror flick. It was just a really, really bad movie. But basically,
I bet you saw it too. That seems like a movie you would see.
It doesn't make sense. She becomes famous after making a YouTube video with 30,000 followers, and people want to sign her to a multi-million-dollar contract. Why would you? Anyways.
Blumhouse Productions, go.
Yeah, but basically they're making a ton of money. Where basically they're investing in these low budget properties and they're turning a profit. So he knows what to do in the field of horror. So having his support and bringing back Kevin Bacon, this is a great sign for the series. I think the series is more likely to be more successful. Having being behind the Blumhouse production and also having Kevin Bacon back. I'm hoping he's a regular, not like we were talking about Limitless before, where Bradley Cooper basically pops in for like an episode or two and that's it. So I'm kind of hoping that Kevin Bacon kind of stays on as a regular, and like you said, he's not really doing much, so wouldn't hurt him to make a paycheck.
Now, I'm only familiar with Kevin Bacon a lot more recently because of the whole pop culture thing that happened years ago with the whole 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. I don't remember where this spawned from, but you remember when it happened?
Yeah, I know. But I don't know where it originated from.
Yeah, I don't either. But I caught a video probably.
It's a board game. It's a board game apparently.
I caught a video a couple months ago actually explaining a little bit about how the whole 6 Degrees thing works from a show that I watch on YouTube called Veritasium. And this guy, Derek Muller, he's like a PhD in science, some sort of physics or something like that. But he does a lot of explaining about different like science subjects. And one of them was he talks about the whole 6 Degrees of Separation thing and the whole Kevin Bacon thing. He doesn't really talk about the history of like where that originated from, but he talks about the science behind why something like that works. Just something small I wanted to throw in there since that kind of came up. And I just needed to talk about that really quick and roll us into the next topic, which is a little bit side steering from this. So Alan and I are big Star Wars fans, and we're definitely going to go see the I think we're going on the 17th.
We're going. I mean, we're not going the first showing. We're going for the second showing at the aviation theaters on the 17th. But
a lot of people ask, and I've gotten this already, like, oh, are you dressing up as like a stormtrooper or Ewok because you're a short little guy? Now, one thing that always pops up too is like you go to Comic-Con and like people ask you like, "Oh, are you dressing up?" And I mean, this is just like one of those events that you expect people to dress up. And I saw something on IGN talking about people who might dress up, And it basically says that Lucasfilm has started partnering with the owners of different movie theaters and cinemas to actually limit cosplayers in their weapons that they bring to the movie theater because of issues that they've had in the past, like in Colorado, in Aurora, Colorado, with shootings and whatnot. So bringing in prop firearms is going to be something that they're going to ban, of course. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 501st Stormtrooper Legion. Have you ever heard of them, Alan? No.
Yeah,
Alan?
I've heard about them. I've seen their I've seen like the people get like certificates and stuff like that from it.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
Star Trek has something similar called USS Avenger, and they're basically like Star Wars or Star Trek clubs that you can join. And the whole point is just to, be a fan of the whole universe and get a little bit more engrossed in sort of the experience of being part of the universe. So being a stormtrooper or being a part of the crew of the USS Avenger. One thing that I totally agree with this, by the way, and it's something that I want to ask you is whether or not you agree with something like this and try to stand for this. And a big part of this is because a lot of the prop firearms blasters from Star Wars are really like old, like World War II replicas that they stole from the Indiana Jones sets.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they technically are real firearm replicas, so they look like firearms. So that probably not a good idea to go to a movie theater with them. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
This is pretty disappointing considering it's part of a fan experience. You figured. One of the things is like going to like me and you going to the opening night. It's kind of, we want to go not because we want to just watch the movie. Also part of it's because it's a fan experience. Also, like back then, like back when like Phantom Menace came out, there were huge lines around, movie theaters because, people were camping out to watch that movie. And it wasn't just because you want to watch movies, because you're interacting with people that love the property as well. So part of it is that fan experience going there. And also like one of the things that, you would go into movie theaters and people would raise up their lightsabers, light up their lightsabers, anticipation for the movie. But you can't do that because
they didn't say anything about lightsabers.
No, they did. They did. No, they did. AMC has banned lightsabers, blasters, and masks. They're all banned.
Even the lightsabers?
Yeah, lightsabers are banned. Lightsabers are banned.
I saw masks. Masks, I kind of get.
No, trust me. I've looked into this, buddy. They ban lightsabers. AMC has banned lightsabers, lasers, lightsabers, blasters, and masks. So you can't have any three of those.
That's a little bit upsetting that you can't even have a lightsaber.
Exactly. So that's the whole part of the fan experience.
Lightsaber looks nothing like a real saber.
I know. However, this is the part where I'm going to tell you that I agree with this, is because it is a safety precaution, with all the crap that's going on in the world. I mean, look at the stuff that just happened with Paris. There's just all these things that happen. Unfortunately, these events happen, and you're going to have to, and people have to, there are accords that you have to meet. That's what Captain America should be doing. He should meet these accords, but he's selfish. Anyway, but you have to meet these accords because some of these things happen. You have to protect the people that are in your movie theaters. Just like last year, they pulled the interview from movie theaters because they're afraid that whoever like the North Koreans were gonna bomb movie theaters for having that movie. And you can't blame the movie theaters because they're in a business to make money, and they're also in the business to protect their investments, and that means protecting the viewers that watch their movies. And if you make it a dangerous place for people to watch movies, people are not going to go watch movies, and they're going to lose money in the long run. So honestly, it will not take away from the overall enjoyment of the film, but it'll slightly diminish kind of the fan experience, because I want to bring a lightsaber too. I was going to buy the $80 lightsaber, just like I bought this stupid thing.
I still don't know how much money you paid for that, by the way. Oh, in case anyone doesn't know, that's the Green Ranger's dagger.
Sorry. It's for D&D, guys. But anyway, for me, I agree. I completely agree with this. They should do this, where they should ban these things. I mean, because of these. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I think this is the best way to protect the viewers overall.
So I mean, this is along the same vein as the next topic that I want to bring up, and that's about the Man in the High Castle advertisements that were in New York City. the past couple weeks. And there's a CNN article here that I pulled up. And basically, their advertisements, one of them is a subway seat like this, with basically an American flag with the blue portion. You actually see the German Imperial logo, or Imperial Legion eagle from World War II. And basically, the whole series, which I have not yet decided to watch quite yet, because it's something that I do want to watch, basically is about what if Germany and Japan won World War II and part of the U.S. was under Nazi occupation. So, I mean, in terms of the movie itself, it's definitely a
TV show.
Sorry, a TV show, or really a web show, something that's on Amazon Prime. Definitely something that I want to watch. But they definitely chose sort of narrative and stylistic choices that are very unique. Not a lot of people want to talk about World War II, and far fewer want to talk about what if they won. I mean, there have been books that have been published in the past talking about this, and things that they could have done to not lose the war. And what's interesting to me about this is, again, how closely this relates to what we were just talking about, with sort of protecting the public and companies drawing back on things in terms of freedoms that we have as consumers. And part of that is, if I want to go into the New York subway and I want to see one of these ads, I can't now because they've already pulled them back. What are your thoughts on whether or not this is actually a good thing or not? Because honestly, I think people are getting a little too offended by something like this. I mean, I know that there's definitely a safety issue regarding the whole movie theater thing, but I mean, they are along the same similar lines about companies protecting the general public. How do you feel about advertisements now, as opposed to what cosplayers can bring to the theater?
So here's the thing. I saw the pictures for the promotional, and they look fucking awesome. I think they look awesome. I agree with you. I think people are just butthurt, basically. I mean, first of all, the last topic we talked about, that's more about physical safety. Physical safety. This isn't what is this protecting the public against? Against freedom of speech? I'm usually someone that doesn't rock the boat and very straight to the code, but come on. I read the article that the only person they interviewed was like some Jewish person. Of course he doesn't like it. If you interview someone else on the street, they'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Of course they're gonna interview someone that's butthurt against it. Come on, what is it? It's a freaking TV show. It was a book, and it was good enough that they decided to adapt it to a TV series. It's just art. It's an alternate universe. It's not alternate reality. It's not like, what is there to be said? I mean, granted, the thing is that me and you have never been fully impacted about this. Like my mother hates the Japanese people because of what they've done to her and our family. But I've never experienced that. So I can't tell you, it's, in terms of like how people feel about all these things and about the Holocaust, I can't speak for that. But speaking as myself in this generation, shut the fuck up. Calm the fuck down. I'm sorry. It's just a freaking advertisement. They did a really good job of the advertisement. Did you see the U.S. flag they did? It looked awesome. I thought it looked awesome.
No, this is something that kind of came up with the whole boycott Star Wars thing too. And a lot of this is, hey, this is art. Everyone has to remember and suspend their disbelief here for a minute whenever they read a book or whenever they look at a piece of artwork. Like, these things are not necessarily what the author or the artist, actually intends to be, and actually wants it to happen in real life. Just like, war photographers don't go out and shoot photos because this is what they want to shoot. It's just they want to represent, what they think could be or what is, and display it to us for our own interpretation. If you're offended by it, I don't think you should limit other people, and their ability to view it. I think this is kind of silly. Like, hey, you have an advertisement. Somebody paid money to have this, put up and delivered and put up in the subways. and to sit on subway seats for this. And I totally get, this is the company's choice. They can do this if they want to appease the public. But I mean, the people who are gonna, be outraged and like protest about this, or send angry letters to the media companies about this. I mean, to be honest, there's a lot bigger problems to be worried about if you're really worried about, the whole Nazi regime kind of thing. Go find white supremacists that are, floating
Go
Nazi
down south
paraphernalia like everywhere. I mean, this is by far like very low in the totem pole of things to get outraged by. I mean, in your daily excursions,
did you not see what happened in Paris? Did you not see what swastika license?
I don't know. It's very silly to me, and again, it's kind of goes along with sort of similar other things. I mean, just contrast, and you're right. It's about physical safety with the whole Star Wars and blasters thing, and this is just kind of like whether or not I feel mentally safe, or if I'm physically or mentally accosted because of seeing some sort of Nazi imagery or something.
Yeah. Did you read he's like, oh, I don't want to go to work and sit on a swastika. I'm like, well, go to a different fucking train. Go do something else. God damn. And also, back to your point about the whole when people were trying to boycott Star Wars, that was the reason why, is because they were saying, oh, they have a black main character. By the way, when they were casting the main character for Finn, they weren't gonna cast him because he was black. He was actually written to be a white character, and they ended up casting a good actor for it, and he happened to be black. So what? So like they didn't purposely like, oh we need to diversify our portfolio. Let's hire the black guy. It wasn't that. It was because he was a good actor. If you've seen Attack the Block, which I know many people have not, have you seen his interviews? He's charismatic. He seems so, and he's a huge Star Wars fan. If you've seen his reaction to the Star Wars trailer, you'd be like, wow, this guy, I would love for him to be in the movies. But this is just so silly. I mean, also along the lines, remember like the stuff with the Starbucks cup? I mean, just people just find a lot of things to complain about, and there are a lot of things in this world that are that you should be worrying about, and you're just complaining about something so stupid and minute. And you can't. I mean, apparently MTA is the one that approved these. They're not the one that's supposed to play like judge and jury, where they're like, oh this is offensive. We can't put this on our trains. They're getting paid. They're gonna put it up there. It's not their fault. And plus, there's nothing wrong with it. I personally think so.
Moving along to kind of finish out the topics that we wanted to cover, as far as like hard topics that you can click on in the video description below, are just two really quick ones that I wanted to throw into the lot, jumping away from the last topics. And the first one is the ion belt. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is mainly because it looks cool. I mean, maybe it doesn't look cool, but maybe it is cool just because you could do something with this. So this is called the Ion Belt. And the Ion Belt is a wearable belt that lets you charge your devices. So you can see here, this guy's wearing this belt, and he's got this wire that runs up here off to the side somewhere. But more closely, without that suit jacket and stuff in a way, on the very end of the belt is a USB port so you can charge your devices. If you watch the videos, the belt is still flexible, and it actually charges using the sort of belt tip here. This is aimed at, of course, men wearing this. I'm not sure if ladies might be interested in wearing this or not. But it's a 3000 milliamp hour battery basically on your belt, and it would let you charge your devices sort of remotely while you're on the go. I think this is useful. I think on Kickstarter they price it out at $130 is the target MSRP, but you can Kickstarter it right now for $89. I'm thinking about getting it, but I probably won't because I'm cheap and I don't really spend enough time on the road to warrant charging device. Alan, is this something you'd be interested in?
Does it come in different colors? I mean, like, it seems like it's just only in black. I wear recently I've been wearing a lot of brown shoes and brown apparel, so I kind of want a brown color one. It looks awesome. I think it's a great idea. I actually bought this portable battery. It's huge as hell, but it's 20,000 what is mAh? What the hell is mAh
milliamp
again?
hours,
yeah, whatever, 20,000. So apparently I can charge my phone 8 times. and it's pretty awesome. But the problem is that it's really heavy and bulky. That's the problem. So I can kill a man with this if I wanted to. I shouldn't bring this to the Star Wars Awakening because I can kill a man with this. I could literally kill a man with this. Yeah, and by the way, thanks Samsung for giving us an unextendable battery. Thank you.
Non-user serviceable battery. Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, whatever. But I think it's a great idea. I think if they're going to do this, they should also, if they're going to charge this much, they might as well make it more stylish, to be honest. I mean, they're going to charge, like you said, $150, $180. Make it stylish. Make it a reason why people want to buy these things. I mean, other than the fact that, you know, you can charge off of it. I mean, was it 3,000? 3,000 is nice. It's cute. But, you know, for nerds like us, you know, that's not enough, to be honest with you. More. Just like Tim Allen said in Home Improvement, more power. You know, like, or I think I have no idea.
Yeah, that was what he said.
Yeah. I think he did that a lot in the first season.
Totally a weird, crazy gadget that might pique someone's interest who watches this. Check it out. I mean, it's worth a click just to, you know, take a look and see if maybe you want to buy it. Something else that piqued my interest while I was on IGN is an article about Gabe Newell. Gabe Newell is the CEO of Valve Entertainment. Valve Entertainment created Half-Life and spawned all the mods like Counter-Strike and everything like that. So anything that has Gabe Newell pops up is really important to me. But one thing that popped up here is that he wants to change the way you cook. Now, I am expecting Gabe Newell as the CEO of Valve Entertainment or Valve Software, I'm really not sure which, to give me Half-Life 3. And a lot of people are anticipating this. This is why his name always pops up, especially around Christmas time. But in particular, in this article, it's actually talking about how his personal investment is actually found that he's actually given a low-interest loan to a company which manufactures Sous Vide equipment. Have you ever heard of Sous Vide, Alan?
No, I've not.
So Sous Vide is, I think it's the water of life or something like that. Direct translation to French. Though what it really means in cooking is you have a very uniform temperature of water. Basically, you know, everyone boils a pot of water and stuff like that. And the whole idea here is you put your food in and it would cook evenly over a long period of time. So it's not like boiling something where you dunk it in and it heats it up really quickly from the outside in and you have this temperature gradient. The idea here is you'd have a piece of food that you have out at room temperature and this not boiling but hot water that you would basically dunk this in and it would allow it to cook over the course of like a couple hours. You can think of it like baking, except with water instead of grilling, you know, with a fire. Very interesting, quick little article that, you know, talks about him investing in the company. And you guys should definitely check out Sous Vide. That's SOUSVIDE. Something definitely a little bit weird. And maybe this is going to be the way we cook in the future, or maybe crockpot in the future. Who knows?
I don't cook. You're welcome, Domino's and UE's. You're welcome. I mean, it's great that Gabe is investing in other technologies, but you know,
he's not investing in Half-Life 3.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, it's not that far-fetched that, you know, he's investing in something that deals with food. It's like hearing Governor Christie's invested in a new donut shop. Come on, let's be real. I mean, it's not that awesome.
This would be like a nerd geeks like or gamers like heaven in terms of like means of cooking. Like you'd have prepackaged like in vacuum packed like food bags.
Yeah. And
then you literally just put it into this machine that has hot water and let it sit for 2 hours while you play video games. And then it's done, you take it out and eat it out of the bag.
They said it's supposed to be revolutionary, where it replaces kind of like it's kind of be like how the microwave was invented, where basically it kind of revolutionizes, you know, in terms of how you cook.
Just like how the K-Cup changed the way that everyone drinks coffee, which I don't think is true. But
the Keurig,
yeah, the K-Cups. You know. Anyways. All right, so speaking of sequels like Half-Life 3, I just wanted to give a quick little tidbit about Fallout 4. I've gotten about 20 hours or so into the game. I've been off all this week from work, and that's about half of a week's worth of work spent on Fallout. So I mean, I guess it's kind of worth it at this point. Great game. I was reading a few articles about what people thought, and one of them is they say that a lot of Bethesda games, Bethesda being the company that makes the game, a lot of their games like Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, the previous Fallout games, they are as broad as an ocean. There's a lot of stuff to do, and this is 100% true. But as deep as a shallow puddle. I totally get this, because the article that I was reading, and if I'm able to find the article again, I'll post it in the video description below. It was talking about how it's a great game, but a terrible RPG, and I totally get that, because I spent a whole bunch of points in the charisma stat, and I feel like I really haven't gotten a good usage out of talking with people. They don't give you good dialogue options and stuff like that in order to get around combat. I feel like you have to deal with everything by using guns and, like, violence, which sounds kind of weird coming from me who loves violent video games. But I mean, there's a whole reason why you have the charisma stat and why this is an option. So I was hoping to go that direction with this game, but like you can't talk your way out of it, apparently. That is one thing that kind of bothers me. There is a ton of different stuff to do. The settlement system is phenomenal. I spend way too much time messing around with that than I do scavenging for tin cans and things like that you need in the game. Because like, in the past, I used to like just run around and pick up everything and just bring it back to my house and like stack it up. And there'd be, I'm talking about in the game, not in real life.
You sure? Have you seen your closet?
But like, I mean, they definitely give a use for all this junk that you collect in the game. But at the same time, like, I feel like after I'm done sort of with the base level stuff that I have to for the settlements, there's really not a whole lot extra to do with it. It's kind of like those stupid cell phone games where you build settlements and stuff like that, and they just lie.
Hey, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with Clash of Clans? Actually, I haven't played as much.
Interesting game. If Alan can build his PC, I think he would enjoy it if he had time to play it. And so, Alan, first, what do you have any questions or any reactions to Fallout 4? And then, how about that PC?
How's the interface? I heard some things about the interface being kind of clunky.
So this is a product of having to be cross-platform and, maybe having to use a controller instead of mouse and keyboard. I've always found that the inventory systems in Fallout and Oblivion have always been this sort of side-by-side list kind of thing, which I always thought was a really heavy system to use, very cumbersome, rather than just giving me like a set of blocks and then letting me figure out how to adjust things and maximize the inventory space. The whole wait and list thing is a little weird, but it gets easier to work with as you play the game. They did simplify finding items that you need in order to craft, which is a huge part of the game. Crafting now, which I kind of mentioned with the whole settlement system, but it's also with weapons and armor and stuff like that. Inventory system, it works, but I could see the reason why they had to do it.
Okay.
So how about that PC?
I guess it's going to be a little dumbed down.
So you're telling me that we can't go ahead and buy a $300 graphics card like this one?
Well, that's the most important component of a computer, right, Steve?
Listed. All right, so we'll click on that, and so there you can see it now.
Well, that's not the Black Friday price yet, right?
No, but I mean that's a pretty good price considering it's a GTX 970. So basically, everyone, Alan wants to build a PC for playing video games, and I've done this a number of times, and I just kind of wanted to help walk him through it. Basically, there's a whole bunch of different graphics cards that are out there. This is the GTX 970, but if you look on Tom's Hardware, which is a website that I like using for benchmarks, they actually say that this is the best graphics card for around $300 or so. And they have other lists here too for higher prices and lower prices and stuff like that. So I mean, we were aiming at this range because of how much money we would spend on the rest of the system, because this is just one part. Of course, you'd want to buy a hard drive, something like this, for like $60 just for the operating system. But then you'd have to think about something that's bigger for storing all your games and your movies and other stuff like that. And that's where you'd probably buy like a full-sized spinner hard drive. I was also kind of browsing around on motherboards, the main boards for the PC. One thing that you have to think about, Alan, if you decide that you are going to build, is sort of these 3 different form factors for the motherboard, because this is going to dictate what kind of cases you can put around the outside of your PC. ATX is sort of the standard, like the sort of mid-range kind of priced, but fully accessible kind of motherboards that gives you all the ports on the back and all the extra doodads that you can install extra stuff on. Micro ATX is smaller, and it's meant more so for like micro towers or home theater PCs, but you could still totally build a full gaming rig off a micro ATX board. Mini ITX is like assuredly a small form factor for like a home theater PC. It's meant to be super tiny. You can ignore the fact that how many hits there are here, because I've also sorted by socket type for the processor, and this is just that happens to be the processor that I have laying around. But something you really need to think about is really that size and this form factor. There's a few others like EATX, which is meant for like full size tower systems, but they're also going to be a little bit more expensive because they have basically a little bit more extra ports and doodads and stuff like that. So, are you going to build, or do you want to buy a system and modify it?
Can I come on Black Friday and we talk about and we can see this together?
What?
Well, can you get it under 1,000 on a budget?
It's doable. It's tough, but it's doable. We could do it. I know you maybe don't want to talk about this too much. So yeah, maybe we'll wait until Black Friday, I guess. I just wanted to bring it up here on the show.
It's hard for me to tell you really what until I see like the prices. I mean, to be honest with you, we don't know what things cost at that time. Maybe we get a good deal and it's like, oh, yeah, we can get whatever we want. It's like, oh, maybe we can't. So to be real, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, we'll definitely post some information about what Alan decides to build.
Hate being old.
Maybe next week on our show. At this point, we're still in the early stages, sort of like, what are we doing? I just wanted to kind of probe him and see what his thoughts were.
I'll talk to him more about this afterwards.
Okay, guys.
I have money to spend on this, but not money to spend on a computer.
Gonna wrap everything up. This has been Jersey Hobby Hour, episode 14 for November 25th, 2015. Again, I'm Steve Chin, and this is just another show where we talk about everything and anything that we really care to talk about. We want to invite everyone who's watching, as well as who will watch this on YouTube after this video posts in about 15 or 20 minutes, to join the show, join the conversation, leave some comments in the video notes down below, send us an email, or tell us that, hey, you want to be on the show and we could talk about stuff, anything of your choosing, really. And we will see you next week. Alan, do you have any last words before we go?
No. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and good luck, bargain hunting for Black Friday. I know I'll need the help. If not, I'll buy PS4, I think.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving, everyone. It's been a great run for the past 14 weeks, and I hope you'll continue watching during the holiday season. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.